We all start a new year, a new week, or even a new day with the best of intentions. This time, we will finally do the thing and tick off the to-do list. We all know what's good for us. Moving our body, investing some money, learning a new skill. Yet, we don't do it. You're not alone. It is estimated that over 80% of us don't keep our New Year's resolutions beyond January. Why could that be? And most importantly, how do we change that? Hi, I'm Surina and I'm a surgical trainee doctor. I'm a serial trier and failer of keeping New Year's resolutions, but I think this year I finally found the magic formula for making it all work. And by magic formula, I literally mean formula. I'm a science and logic girl at heart, so I like formulaifying all of life if possible. And the formula for building a positive habit or a positive change in your life, I think, goes something like the desire for change times by the enjoyment in making that change, take away friction equals change. So in this video, I'm going to go through that formula, talking about evidence-based strategies that can influence various parts of that formula and ultimately make that positive habit or change actually happen and actually stick. Let's first look at the desire to change. Have you ever decided you're going to go on a run? You tell your work colleagues as you leave for work that you plan to go on a run that evening. You get home, you tell your housemate or your partner that you're planning to go on a run later. Then your mum calls and you let her know that your evening plans include a run. The day comes to an end, you've reorganised your cupboards, you've cleaned the kitchen, you've made dinner, but that run has not been ran. We're all guilty of saying that we're going to do something and somehow procrastinating our way to a reality where it doesn't actually happen. And there is one word to sum up why this might be happening, and that is dopamine. Think about what happens when you tell someone you're going to make a positive change. Say you tell them you're going to sign up for a marathon. You get warm words of praise, encouragement, admiration. It feels good, right? It feels good because you best believe that reaction and that feeling of admiration from others is feeding that dopamine pathway, which is making ourselves feel we've accomplished the thing before we've actually even done anything about it. In a study carried out on law and psychology students at a German university, half the group were asked what their main academic goals were and asked to write down what their important study intentions were for the week ahead to try and achieve these goals. Things like reading more on a week topic or attending more seminars in areas they needed help with. These intentions were read out loud to the group. The second group also wrote their intentions down, but did not share them with anyone. They repeated this experiment on lots of different groups of students in law and psychology and asked them to do slightly different things. And over the course of over 160 students, the findings were consistent that the group who had not shared their intentions or their goals were more successful in actually acting upon them than the group who had shared them. This paper concluded that if intentions were shared with other people, it gave the individual a premature sense of possessing the aspired to identity. So next time when you're trying to nail down a habit or bring about a positive change in your life, it might be a good idea to keep it to yourself for a bit, or maybe tell one or two trusted people before you actually start doing it, to make sure you don't get that premature sense of achievement before you've actually done the thing. Now, the reason why that instant positive feedback feels so good and can be powerful enough to even prevent you from doing the actual thing in the first place is because this is a form of a short-term reward, something that is so tasty and tangible to us short-sighted humans. Humans have not evolved to understand long-term consequences. Going back to our caveman days, tomorrow was not promised. You could get eaten by a tiger at any moment. Life expectancy was short, and so we evolved to prioritize rewards in the promised and certain now, rather than delaying gratification and optimizing for possible happiness in an uncertain tomorrow. However, long-term rewards form the basis of why we make any good habits, really, whether that is going to the gym now to get fit and strong or lose weight down the line in the future, whether it's saving and investing money now to reap the benefits of interest and compound interest in our savings in the future. But how do we make those long-term rewards more appealing to our short-sighted minds? And that is when we go back to the equation and look at the enjoyment part of change. There is a reason it is only so easy to slip into those heavy dopamine hitting activities, be that scrolling on your phone and clicking next episode on Netflix. The short-term enjoyment of more scrolling or watching more episodes is more tangible and more promised in the here and now, whereas the long-term future consequences, the crippling thumb arthritis from all the miles of scrolling, the poorer health or reduced fitness from the sedentary lifestyle of watching more episodes, will only be felt much further down the line. And who cares about then? So instead of feeling prisoner to this almighty chemical of dopamine, which we are, how can we manipulate it to fire when we want to make a positive change in our lives? In this study in the US, 226 gym-going university students were split into groups, where one group was asked to self-select some audiobooks that they really wanted to listen to, and then they were told they could only listen to these audiobooks when they went to the gym. Group 2 were simply encouraged to limit audiobook listening to the gym if possible, and Group 3 were simply reminded about the benefits of exercising, but there wasn't any link to the audiobooks as such. Now, gym attendance did decrease over the 10-week trial period for all three groups. The term got busier, students got busier, there was also a holiday in the middle of this period, but amazingly, the percentage of students who managed to visit the gym at least 1 time a week remained consistently higher in Group 1, where the act of going to the gym was tied to listening to the audiobooks. And this brings us to the topic of temptation bundling. Normally, an activity that brings us a reliable and usually effortless spike in our enjoyment, such as scrolling on our phone on social media, often brings us long-term consequences that cost us the feeling of wasted time, feeling of guilt, comparing ourselves to one another unfairly. And usually something that is good for us might be painful to execute in the short term and bring a spike of decreased enjoyment, going out in the cold to go to the gym, digging through tons and tons of research papers to finally start writing that essay. But usually after the initial painful execution, the long-term consequences are quite beneficial to us. An increase in our knowledge, an increase in our health, a feeling of pride or sense of achievement in what we've done. But what if we could combine these two graphs and get the initial spike of enjoyment as well as the long-term benefits? This is where temptation bundling comes in, linking an activity that you know will give you long-term benefits with something that gives you a short-term spike in enjoyment or pleasure, and then doing them together. So you could watch your favorite episodes of some trash TV only when you are on the treadmill. Every time you have to sit down to write another essay, you could take yourself to a cute coffee shop and reward yourself with a little coffee and maybe just a little slice of cake as well, why not? Just to get you started writing that essay. And hopefully you'll start to pair that beneficial activity with something that gives you some instant enjoyment and pleasure rather than the usual painful execution to start something that is usually good for you. A platform that has seamlessly embedded temptation bundling into what they do is Brilliant, our sponsors for today. Brilliant is an easy way to learn complicated topics within maths, data science, and computer science, which they cleverly teach you by bundling the lessons together with fun and engaging exercises. Only after researching temptation bundling for this video did I realize how smart Brilliant is for hijacking the reward system within our brains and making us associate the short-term fun of playing the games with the long-term achievements of actually gaining a new skill. My favorite course is Thinking and Code, because for years I've been trying to get my head around coding to help me build my personal online website and to build online teaching courses. And now with the game-like structure of the lessons in Brilliant, it is such an effortless joy to finally understand these concepts. So if you want to delve further into AI or coding, then you can get started with Brilliant for absolutely free because they've given me a link. Brilliant.org/Surina Taneja will give you a 30-day free trial. And for the first 200 people to sign up with that link, you'll also get an additional 20% off the annual plan. Of course, we can only trick our monkey brains so much. Eventually that dopamine high will run dry. But the important thing to remember is the positive behavior we are trying to trick ourselves into doing does usually inherently start to feel good on its own. It's just the getting started that is the most painful bit. Okay, so you've decided you've got a strong desire to get fitter and healthier. You join the gym, you keep your goals secret to yourself, and your desire to change is very strong. You've also downloaded another season of Love Island, which you are only going to watch when you're on the treadmill, of course, and you're looking very forward to actually getting there and watching your episodes, and your enjoyment is looking good as well. But then you're tired. You can't find your gym clothes, you look outside, it's cold, it's dark, you have to cycle to the gym, but your bike tire's looking a little flat, and the odds of you actually making it to the gym are still looking very slim. This is of course the friction part of the equation, where so many of us fall down so easily. To build a habit, we know it's important to make things as frictionless as possible. When I'm trying to read more and scroll less, I keep my book on my bedside table and I charge my phone far, far away. If I'm trying to get better at hand tying in surgery, I've got various sutures and threads hanging off random objects around my flat, so if I'm ever passing by, I can tie a quick knot quite easily. This is all fairly intuitive, but something that I thought was actually helping me build habits was in fact disabling me and preventing me from building them and creating more friction, and that was consistency. We are told time and time again how consistency and routines are good for us, but tell me this, have you ever tried to build a habit and tried to build it into a consistent routine, and instead of you effortlessly gliding into that habit, it makes you feel even more restricted or even chained than before? I definitely have. If I don't manage to read one evening, then I'm never going to finish this book, and what is the point anyway? Let me just screw it and scroll on my phone instead for the rest of the week. Never have I ever been more inconsistent with this YouTube channel than when I'm trying to force myself into a rigid schedule and then punishing myself for not meeting that schedule by then not making any more videos. And more recent research has shown that consistency, although traditionally thought to help build habits, can also breed a certain sense of rigidity in some people that can do more harm than good. In this study, 2,508 Google employees interested in working out at the workplace were incentivized to go to the gym with cash payments every time they managed to get a workout in. One group were told they had to go within a self-selected 2-hour window, and the second group were able to go in a flexible manner whenever they wished. Interestingly, although in the short term, the employees in the routine 2-hour window group managed to go to the gym more frequently, over time it was the flexible group that had more variability in their visit time that managed to maintain a higher frequency of gym visits in the long run, even with lower cash incentives than the routine group. The researchers concluded that it wasn't actually consistency that was more important in building habits, it was repetition. If you have more flexibility in your routine, you're more likely to keep repeating that behavior, because if your first preferred time doesn't work out, you'll go at a second best time. If your second best time doesn't work out, you'll go at your third best time. But the key thing is that you keep repeating that activity and keep that momentum going instead of having an all or nothing approach that can stop that train right in its tracks. This has been such a reassuring revelation for me because life happens, right? Sometimes I'm doing evening shifts or weekend shifts or night shifts. Sometimes I'm really, really tired. Sometimes you have a spontaneous late night socializing and meeting friends. You need to have a routine that's baggy enough to allow for this flexibility, but keep your life moving in the direction that you want it. Previously, if I'd missed my self-assigned slot that I'd given for something, then if it didn't happen, I would write that whole habit off completely and be really stuck within my rigidity. So one surprising way that I've discovered to reduce that friction is to keep an eye on your long-term repetition rather than your short-term rigid consistency. Remember, with all of these things, it is not one size fits all. I just wanted to share some surprising things that I hadn't realized or hadn't identified in myself that were barriers to change or keeping the resolutions I had set myself. I hope you found something in there useful. If you did, then check out this video where I talk about some mindsets that have absolutely revolutionized my life and how I approach different goals. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!